So once upon a time, we had a podcast. And then it never happened again. When Michael and Michael create a podcast and then don't bother doing any more episodes, this is what happens.
Back in a year's time.
We come back in a year's time.
Make a new
Do you
one.
know what, actually? This is episode 2 of Keeping a Straight Face.
Mm.
And it's been one whole year since we've done an episode.
Ish. Give or take a month.
Well, I'm rounding up to the year, so
Yeah.
I'm rounding it's after 6 months, so it's half the year's gone. So we round it up to a year. It's close enough. This is episode 2. We've gone for a whole year, right? And do you know what? Funny thing is, I was listening to episode 1, and in it, I say, wouldn't it be fun if we did one episode a year? I jinxed it.
Yeah,
I say that in
made
the
it happen.
episode. Yeah, well, we're here,
Hmm.
and we're queer.
Yes, very true.
And we ain't straight.
We're keeping a straight face. Though. Well, you two are
Well.
at the moment. You're laughing.
Well, okay. I've got my
Mission
little
failed.
notes on my here. Well, welcome back is what it says. It's been a year. What went wrong? So, that's the question.
The Conservatives?
Well, next question. See ya.
I think what it was is we started this podcast. We did it as a pilot anyway, a little test. But we started it just before the educational year begun.
Yeah,
So we did have a lot of...
which was ambitious.
Yeah, we did try a lot. And then I went through hell this last year.
Via the scenic route.
Yeah, I went the long way around. You had an easy year. Ish.
Maybe by
And
comparison.
that's it. So we didn't actually record any more episodes. However, we're here. We've got a new co-host, new equipment, and everyone's gonna get their jush. The audio might be echoey, but you're gonna get your jush. Like it or lump it, it's better than the last episode. Have it or don't have it. Turn off now or don't listen. No, that's the same thing, isn't it? Okay. Anyway, we have got, as you know, before it was me and Michael, and now we have a new co-host called
Matt.
Matt. It's like one of them like CBeebies shows, or like, you know, like a kid show, and it's like they talk the audience and it's silent for a minute, and then the audience
yeah.
is supposed to
One of
reply.
those talk shows where they say it and then the camera pans.
Yeah, and you do like a little
And it's
wave.
very stage managed.
Yeah.
Like, yes, hello. Like, swivel round in the chair. Hello.
Well, obviously, those you listening won't know who Matt is. In fact, we didn't even.
Probably don't even know who we are.
They found me on the street. They took
Oh,
pity on me.
joking. So as you,
They
I
offered
was
me a
gonna
cup
say,
of tea.
I was gonna say as you know, but you don't. But well, you do, but the audience don't. Matt obviously is my uncle. People who don't know that, well, they wouldn't. But we've got he's now our co-host for the podcast. You know, try and get us past the episode 3 mark, because that's
Valve
gonna
syndrome.
be difficult. But yeah, and you were an author. That's
I am
all
an
the
author.
notes I had on you.
We're an author. Charming.
I ceased to exist.
You are an author. No, did I say you were an author?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Past
You
tense.
are an
I have
author.
died
Oh no. Well, that's all
and
I've
have
got on you.
henceforth risen.
Well, yeah, and in the past, me and Matt tried to do a podcast way before this one. Funny enough, we got to episode 3 and then didn't bother doing any more. Well, we had reasons, didn't we, why we couldn't do more, but
Yeah, you didn't want to.
that wasn't really... Well, the podcast never even went live, so I don't know if it really counts as a podcast.
Counted to me.
Oh, girl. Well, we're here, we're back. Is the... Oh, I want to call it a season, but who knows if we've got to do more than one episode.
We're here, we're queer,
Yeah.
and we're here to entertain you.
Yes. Yeah, see, you've summed up in a sentence.
Well, there we are.
There it is.
So,
But this...
on the agenda
yeah.
for today,
Alright, moving ahead.
moving ahead,
Well, this is the thing, okay, so obviously...
I'm a
when you do
progressive.
Well, there it is. When you do a podcast, you could have something to talk about, otherwise it's not really a podcast. And last episode, I remember I had a little notebook in front of me, and I wrote down loads of notes, but didn't even
Yeah.
bother reading them all. And then this time I've actually got no ideas.
It would be a great idea to lose the fucking notebook and just wing it.
I thought it'd
Yeah.
be good to film. I mean, I still want to film one, but it's like we need to think of stuff to say. So I did think of a little bit to say. I don't know if we can say it or not, so I'm going to play it safe. It's just going to be boring otherwise. You know, I don't want to turn this into like a boring...
Court case.
Cool. You could say that, yes. So, I don't know. The first thing to say... well, I'm not sure. I really don't know. Have you got a topic?
I
Did you
do.
bring a topic to this table?
Yep, I brought something for show and tell. So,
Well, go on.
a discussion topic. If you could, what historical event would you change and why? Bearing in mind the pros and potential cons of making that change to the timeline.
All right. Well, would you like to go first? Is your topic?
By example.
Give an example. So you go first. Give your one. So, what historical event would you change?
The one that really matters to me, and I don't really know why because I'm not American, but it would have to be...
America. Sorry, it's very cool. Carry on.
The one that really matters to me has to be stopping JFK getting assassinated,
Oh, Bishop's a good one.
because he was a ray of hope when the world needed it.
Right.
Oh, you know who he is, don't you?
Oh, yeah, of course. What do you take me for?
Oh, he works in Tesco's, love. He's at bloody off the counter.
Works down Budgeons with Tezza.
No, I think he was America's ray of hope when the world needed that ray of hope.
What year was he? The 60s?
Got elected in 1960 and assassinated in 63.
Oh, he didn't last very long, did he?
Yeah.
Well, no, that tends to happen.
Well,
with
why? So, how did
assassinations.
he get assassinated? Was it his views or his agenda?
No, well, it's still a mystery today. I mean, the 60s were a turbulent time. You had a lot of different issues going on. You had the Cold War. You had a lot of civil rights issues going on. There were the origins of the conflict in Vietnam. There was a lot going on at that time. But I mean, it's very interesting. There was a mini series that was produced
Yeah, I think
on not
I've
just
seen this.
JFK, but on the entire dynasty, the entire
The
family.
Kennedys, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Kennedys.
And it was fascinating. It was allegedly based on, some semblance of truth, but it was a fascinating insight. But I remember always being captivated by that event and thinking how different would the world be if he'd have survived, because he did a lot of work towards the Civil Rights Bill, and it was only signed in by his successor purely because JFK wasn't around anymore.
So, how do you think, say he wasn't assassinated, how do you think that would have changed the world?
He was known to not want to progress or escalate the conflict in Vietnam, so it would have been a very different foreign policy situation to what we saw with Johnson, who succeeded him, because Kennedy didn't want to escalate into Vietnam. He famously dealt with the Cuban Missile Crisis in '62, so he was a real beacon of hope in the Cold War, because he opened up that dialogue rather than being a bit more gung ho and potentially, leading to greater conflict. So, I see him as a positive figure because he worked hard for the civil rights, the civil rights movement. He had a good grasp on the Cold War and not wanting that to escalate because of mutually assured destruction. And he didn't really want to escalate Vietnam, which, as we know, ended up being a great tragedy for both sides. So,
Wow.
I mean, if you listen to his inauguration speech as well, he promises, new hope and fresh hope, and it does sound like that America was this kind of new age Camelot, really, and it was like a fresh hope. And it's just really sad that hope got extinguished long before it should have been.
So, Michael, what is your historical event?
Well, see, when you asked, the first thing maybe not the first, but after a while I was all remembered the destruction of the Library of Alexandria,
What's that?
which around the time...
It's on the high road. It's just round the corner.
Yeah.
They demolished it for some flats.
What, you're talking about a library demolished by flats?
No. So it's about the Roman Empire, the around time of the Roman Empire. Huge library, basically just supposedly full of basically all the world's knowledge up until that point.
And books?
Yeah. A lot of
Safe bet in a library, isn't it?
a lot of literature.
They had the audio describe section towards the back, and that
Yeah.
didn't make it either, sadly.
DVD section. The rentals.
Some of the CDs were loaned out, so they survived.
Yeah.
On loan to the British Museum.
But then I sort of looked into it some more, and I'm not so sure. The Roman Empire was sort of falling at the time anyway. Supposedly, the destruction of the library was like this, basically the start of the Dark Ages. Like all the knowledge was lost, and then we all just sort of dip into the slum with no one knows anything. We're all dumb. But at the time, Europe was becoming more of like a scientific and sort of educational powerhouse, and sort of the dynamics were changing. Anyway, so the Roman Empire was falling. Chances are the library wouldn't have been that you could. There's the potential that the library wasn't as important as it's believed to be anyway. And the thing is, we've got no, as far as I know, there's no strong knowledge of what was actually in the library. It could have been Theresa May's 150 cookbooks, for all we know. Like
Books out of NCIS.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Like that could have been the whole DVD section, but like we don't actually have like a definitive knowledge of what was in there, so its loss isn't necessarily this huge deal.
So have you got another one, or do you want to leave it in that?
I mean, my sort of in general, when I get asked questions like this, or like if you go back in time, what would you do? Or if you could go back in time, would you do anything? I'm the kind of person that wouldn't do that.
Just leave time to time.
Because the thing is, sure, a lot of things could be better, but they could have to be a hell of a lot worse. So, I certainly don't know enough about the past and like how things would work out. I couldn't, like, that's taking a lot of responsibility. Because basically, if you go back in time and change something, you're now responsible for literally everything that happens afterwards. There's a lot of stuff going wrong, but at the end of the day, things could be a lot worse, and I'd rather not risk that, because I'd rather just improve what we have, because what we have is improvable enough.
Well, I've thought really hard about a topic, historical event. It's got me thinking, and I think this, I'm not the only person to think this one, but my one is, what if, I can't say her name, what if Shangela had been in the top 2 on All Stars 3 in that final? That's a very historical one, because now, for those who have not seen Drag Race All Stars 3, if you wouldn't know if you've not seen it, but, so they do this, well, you've not seen All Stars 3, Matt, but they do the whole lip sync for your legacy thing. Well, they got to a final 4, and then RuPaul brought back all the eliminated queens, and they voted for who they wanted to be in the top 2. Right? And you think, this is a little bit shady, it's a little bit wrong. And now, Shangela deserved the top 2, and I'm going to say it. Sorry, Kennedy, but she deserved it. Or even Trixie, but she deserved it. Right? And now, she should have been...
So was that Trixie Mattel and Kennedy Davenport?
Yeah, so they were in the top 2. They got voted by the jury of eliminated queens to lip sync to win. Which as much as I love Trixie, right, I feel, and she has progressed the most, I feel, out of the top 2. But on All Stars 3, I don't think she showed herself enough. Like, there were times when she was in the bottom for Snatch Game. I feel she didn't show herself as much as she could have. Whereas off the TV show, she's so rich, she's really good. Kennedy, however, I can see how she needed it. But out of all the top 4, Shangela deserved it, because she went from season 2, season 3, that long gap, she grew the most out of it. And she should have won it. And do you know what? I feel that they didn't vote for her because they probably knew she'd win.
Well, they're all bitter.
Okay.
That
But
was...
4G4 were the only one to vote for Trixie and Shangela. And Shangela was one who had a row with 4G. Was it like a mini fight? Or they had this beef all season, didn't they? And it was like this. But yeah, I feel like it was a bit rigged. Rigor-mortis. Well, I don't know, it wouldn't be rigged, would it? Because it was the Queens who voted. But I don't know. I feel like that could have gone differently. And that's what's got me thinking lately. Because she should have won it. She should have won. She deserved to win it.
One of us would save an ancient historical site, another one would save an American president, and you'd change a reality show.
I'd save reality TV from crumbling in the hands of capitalists.
I mean, out of all of them, I think it's probably the safest one to do. Go back and change something that's fairly inconsequential in the grand
Well,
scheme of things.
if I didn't say Drag Race, I would have gone for Princess Diana. Now that probably would have been a good one.
See, I thought
Because see, this is the thing.
Roll credits.
that.
Can we not talk about Diana?
It's probably best not to.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tiptoe around it, but I just want to. I think I would have talked about her.
Tiptoe out the room.
It was
Yeah.
a great tragedy.
Yeah,
without
I
doubt.
feel like
But there's been so much
if
that's
she
been said
was,
about it
yeah,
over the years.
I wasn't going to like point fingers and blame because you can't, you can't blame anyone for it. But I feel that if the accident wasn't to happen, that would have been something that I would change.
Yeah,
Where she wasn't
she did a
an
lot of
accident.
charity
because I
work
thought
and-
she was such a sweet woman, Diana. I mean, I never personally was alive to see her.
Well, we
but-
only see the side that was on
Yeah.
the cameras.
and that's the
so,
thing. But
But
from
you know,
what we
she did,
saw,
yeah,
she
did a lot
she
of
was.
charity work, and it was a great loss.
Yeah. Welcome back to the podcast. Now we didn't actually go anywhere. Well,
We just had a quick fag break.
We
and just,
did,
you know,
but
talked
for-
about all of you.
For the listeners, it would literally just been. I don't think there'll be a transition, so it would just, it would just somehow mix together. But no, we've had a little break. We've thought about another topic to talk about, and we're here. I don't know, I'm moving around, wiggling. I feel like I'm Just Dance.
You're getting your
again.
jazzercising.
I'm getting my jush. So, obviously, in the last part, we talked about historical events you would change. Very difficult topic to talk about because I don't know much about history. So I struggled with this time.
So now we have to dumb it down for you.
Yeah, you could say that. So now we're going to talk about. Wait, what was the title? I've forgotten the topic.
Oh, fuck my life.
Fucking hell.
No, you can just name
Inspirational
it.
films that have changed our lives.
That. So we're looking at films that have changed our lives.
Yeah,
And
that
have
mean
been-
something to us.
That means something to us. So now I've got a film. Matt's got a film. You haven't got a film yet, Michael. Have you? You're a little bit.
See, yeah, I don't know.
Well, we'll go to it at the end. If you don't have anything, don't worry. But just have a think, yeah, folks.
You do not have to say anything, but anything you do say
we'll
may be
recorded.
broadcast and used in evidence against you.
Yeah. So I've got my one. Would you like me to go
Yeah,
first?
you go first.
Now I did have a struggle because I have, again, just like the history one, I sort of struggled to pick a film because there's so many. It's one of them difficult questions. Like if someone said to you, "What's your favourite song?" You can't think of
I
one.
suppose
on the
it's
top of
because
your
you're
head.
exposed to so many, especially
Yeah.
in this age where it's like media, like saturated with media.
Yeah, and it's like you can't. It's one of them really difficult questions. I mean, I've got so many really good films, and there's so many that have been inspirational for me and shaped me today. But I'll mention one, but I can say it's not.
Well, there must
my
be some that
favourite.
resonate more than
but-
most.
Yeah, well, the
You
one
know,
I
there must-
mentioned,
yeah.
the one I mentioned will, but there's still some I class on the same level. But for the sake of this podcast, I'll just make it simple and say one. I might go into the history of all the films, but that could be one episode. It could be my solo podcast, my spin-off show.
It's like the DLC.
Yeah,
The DLC to this episode.
so the film I chose, which I don't think either of you have seen, but it's called Paris is Burning. Well, just keeping the theme of the podcast very gay, so choose a really flamboyant film. It's more of a documentary, and it's from the 1990s, but it was filmed in the late 80s. In fact, probably the 80s, mid 80s. I'm not sure. But it's just about the New York drag scene in the underground gay scene of the 80s, which is
Okay.
very, very fascinating. Obviously, being a gay student, I don't know, it's been openly gay. I think it's important as a gay person to learn your history, learn where you've come from, learn how you've got to where you are today. And that film, I think, just really encapsulates that, because obviously I'm a big fan of drag anyway, as you heard with the whole Drag Race historical thing. But I just think it focuses on more like, I mean, it's all about the underground gay scene, but it's more on like how the people lived
Okay.
in the 80s as being like openly gay themselves. And obviously, as you would know, as you've gone back in time, it's got worse for, generally as you go back, it's more homophobic. I mean, today we're in an age where we can be openly gay and sort of not get discriminated on in the streets,
Potentially not get discriminated
so
against.
but times have advanced. So looking back at what was and what's now comparing it is really fascinating to me, because it's to see the struggle that people went through. But I love this film, and I really recommend everyone to watch it. I believe there was a new film out, actually. Well, there's a new TV show out called Pose. I think that's sort of similar to... I've not seen it, so I don't know, but I think it's along the similar routes, the 80s scene. But it's really good. I'd recommend it. It shows you so much about like voguing and a lot of that, and because that originally originated from the gay community, and it was...
Did it?
Yes.
Oh.
Madonna wasn't the first person to vogue.
I didn't know this.
Did you not?
No.
Well, you should watch the film Paris is Burning. You'll find out all about it. Because a lot of the gay culture today actually comes from, I believe is it the black community? So a lot of gay slang, so like yes or work, it comes from the black community.
A lot of it is attributed to the black community, black queer communities.
Okay.
So it comes back from them. So I mean, the film obviously focuses on that whole community, well, the whole LGBT community, but like the underground scene, because you couldn't be, do these parties on the streets and vogue around the place, because a lot of people at the time would give you, one look, or they'd say some rude words. So I mean, in the film, as you see, they go they have these underground balls, or you get underground scene, but it's like the balls, which are like the culture for like the dance balls. It's hard to explain if you don't watch the film, but they were held like 3 in the morning, or like 4 in the morning, like stupidly early, but times that they could get away with it, and there'd be no one else around sort of watching. Listen, I think it's really fascinating to watch.
So it's like a world within a world then, for that
well,
community.
That's why it's called like the underground scene, because it had to be kept secret, this whole scene, in a way, because people couldn't be as who they are today.
They were marginalised.
Yeah, a lot. Okay. But it's really good. You see, and the documentary, it's sort of a film documentary, but it follows the life of I can't remember how many people now, but a couple of people from the underground scene. And you see like a transgender woman, you see 2 students, or 2 children, I can't remember now. It's been a while since I've seen it. I've seen it a couple of times. Really good. I would totally recommend it. But I feel like it shaped me to where I am today. Because it's taught me how people used to live, as I said, and living as a gay person today, I've seen the change that has happened since that film, and the change that can happen. That's a nice way to put it. Yeah. And I'm not waffling on too much, if I have. But have you picked your film?
Yeah.
You have. Do you want to go next, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Well, over to you. That's probably loud for the viewers. I'm so sorry.
Well, see, I sort of struggled to think about what actually sort of was important to me. But seeing as I want to work in film, I would go back and consider why I want to do that. And I think I've had a look around, and I think probably one of the more formative films that made me want to do visual effects is probably The Matrix.
Oh wow! I wouldn't have thought you would have said that.
Yeah, didn't need to know, but then I sort of had a good think about it. Just because it's one of those films that I sort of watched when I was younger. I'm not sure if I even knew I wanted to go into media at that point, but obviously it's one of the most sort of foundational films in visual effects. Like pretty much everyone knows it.
It defined bullet time, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess watching it as a kid, it was very impressive, and I was always sort of fascinated by that. And
then the sequels happened.
Yeah, and we don't talk about that.
But then, like, for the viewers just listening, because obviously VFX is what you want to go into, so that's why it's shaped you. Yeah.
But it's probably one of the more formative films, because it didn't really come to mind because I didn't think about it that critically before. But it's definitely a lot of it fascinated me, and looking back at it now, I realise that it's probably one of the more foundational films there are.
Exceptionally well made for its time.
I've never seen The Matrix.
You haven't?
Plot
the
twist.
first one is brilliant.
Yeah, the first one is just an exceptional film. It's a very highly rated film. But you
have to really concentrate with it though.
I mean, the visual effects are sort of dated now, but the thing is that at the time, and I mean, it was still like pushing the boundaries.
But everyone copied them afterwards. You saw like the scene where like he jumps up to do that kick and then the camera pans round. That was copied so many times.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that scene.
It massively impacted popular culture at the time as well, and it won awards for its visual effects. But I mean, the company closed down since, but they worked on a lot of big films as well. Yeah, a lot of people in VFX who are actually working there, some of the big names will point to that and say that's one of the most crucial points in VFX. Yeah.
And the directors for it they were the transgender directors, weren't they?
Not at the time.
Not at the time, but later on. Oh, I
in the
see.
present day, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your story. It's like an alcohol anonymous group.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story. So now we go to you, Matt.
Okay. Well, my one has to be Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
All right.
Classic 80s teen film. I first saw it when I was 15.
So what year was that? No, don't go into it. It's all right.
Yeah, no, I won't. I wasn't planning to. But it's a really seminal film because it's quite poignant, because it shows about enjoying life and making the most out of it while it's still there to be enjoyed, and whilst you still have the ability to enjoy it. So, for those who haven't seen it, it's about this guy who essentially just bunks off school with his best friend and his girlfriend, or gets them out of school, and just enjoys the day. They go to an art gallery, they go to a baseball game, they weasel their way into having a free lunch at a really posh restaurant, and all under the guise of Ferris tricking his parents into believing that he's sick so he can get the day off. And the vice principal from the school is trying to track him down and hunt him down. It's quite funny. But it's all about enjoying life while it's still there to be made the most out of, because Ferris in the film, he says that that's the last chance they'll get to all be together before they finish high school and go separate ways for college. So it's quite poignant. There's quite a deep thing to it. I mean, on the surface it looks like, like a heartwarming teen comedy, but there's actually a really deeper level to it.
Oh, wow. And has the film ever inspired you to do anything like, take a day off and do what he does in the film?
What, have a Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Has that inspired you to?
Have
you ever wanted to, or yeah?
Yeah, I think occasionally. I think once or twice I've had it hasn't been anywhere near as glamorous as Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I've had a few Matt's Day Off. Yeah.
Matt's Day Off. What do you think would happen if he didn't have a day off?
If he didn't have a day off?
If he didn't have a day off, the films wouldn't be a bit
What's
boring,
the entire
would it?
premise of the film? It wouldn't be a film without that.
Ferris Bueller's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
It's like a reality show.
Like an episode of Big Brother.
Like single camera just following him around.
I'd never heard of that film before.
You not?
It's such a beautiful, beautiful
To be
film.
honest,
I
I've
highly
heard
recommend
of it from you, but apart from that, I have heard of it because of the art gallery scene. That's the scene I've seen.
That is the famous one.
That's the one I've seen.
That is brilliant.
Not seen that again. I've not seen that film. I feel like it's bad for me being a film student that I've not seen many films.
Yeah.
In fact, I've seen a lot of films, but I'm not the ones that are truly iconic, or not the ones that are like the, if people list 100 films, I'm not, the majority of them I haven't seen. So it's not. I mainly see more.
But that's the thing with the labels, though. Like labels like iconic, it's iconic to the individual. So what you may feel is iconic, or you may feel is iconic, may be slightly skewed from what I see as it.
Yeah.
So I see stuff in Ferris Bueller and that narrative that perhaps other people may not.
Yeah.
Is that the sort of John Hughes style?
It was a John Hughes film, so it was part of his Brat Pack teen stable, although the Brat Pack weren't actually in that.
Did he do the Breakfast Club as well?
He did.
He did.
Well, what I think is important about film is that you, and like working in film, is knowing what inspires you. I don't think it's necessarily such a bad thing that you haven't seen all these films, because as long as you're... I mean, it's always good to sort of expand your knowledge and you look at different viewpoints.
Oh, definitely.
For whatever work you're trying to create, you want to have it's fine to reference things that inspire you and things that you see what you want to see in them. Obviously, I've been inspired by films to do visual effects, like Matrix, Avatar, films like that may not and probably don't have the same sort of substance, the same sort of inspiration that you would take from them or that you would want to take from a film. Because while they're visually stunning, and that's sort of what my work's all about, what you might want to do with the film could be different. And I don't think there's any shame in not watching something, say, if you didn't watch Avatar. I don't think there's necessarily a shame in that, because that's... someone else might.
Yeah, creativity is as much about discovery as it is about what you already know.
Yeah, it was a nice way to sum up and conclude today's podcast. I think it's been a really nice episode.
Yeah,
very
really
reflective.
fun.
It's very different to the last episode we done.
Yeah.
So I remember last time we just slagged off people called Chris, didn't we? Really, Chibnall, Graylin, just So I think it makes a change.
Those two.
Yeah. It makes a change.
Chris.
But yeah, I think it makes a change having a nice episode, and I'd love for you to stay and do more podcasts.
I'd love to stay too.
I mean, not now because it's getting quite on. But as seasons go on, as episodes go on. But I think it's been a really nice episode, and thank you for listening. At times,
And
our
thank you
audio.
for keeping a straight face.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for being straight. No, that's no.
Well, being straight with us.
Oh. Thank you for listening and
Keeping a straight face.
So we said they're all in sync.
There we go,
without
in harmony.
mistakes. There we go. We should be a choir.
We should.
Yeah. Well, next episode. We'll see you soon. Maybe not next year, but. Bye.